This is Stacy's pot house. This is my house. It's where I'm going to be making some pots. That over there is Earl, my dog. Well, hello pottery people. Welcome to the second installment of my pottery blog. I am headed up to Virginia for a video shoot, so I thought I'd go ahead and knock this out for you since I will be busy with editing when I get back. Today we are going to visit the Clay Lady Artist Co-op and galleries for the last class of winter sessions where I take pottery classes. Danielle, the Clay Lady, rocks. At the end of every session, she hosts a Raku firing. Then we're going to see that today. And later, I'm going to trim the pot that I made in the last vlog and then chop it in half to see what was wrong with it from the inside out. So back to the Raku. The short story goes something like this. 6,000 years ago, the Emperor of Japan hosted a contest for a new tea set. The Raku family won that contest, and this is the style of glazing that they came up with. There are really 3 forms of Raku, and no, I'm not going to get into a big long blah 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 about the whole thing, but they go like this. Oxidation gives it a crackle finish, reduction gives it a bronze finish, and horsehair is, well, you actually just burn horsehair onto a hot pot and makes a design. It burns it right into it. So, what we did was apply a special Raku glaze to all of our finished pieces, and then they fire up a special kiln. The pieces are heated to 1800 degrees, which is almost to their melting point. The video here does nothing for how hot the pieces really looked. They actually really looked like liquid, somehow solid liquid. It was crazy. It was scary to pick them up. But once you did, with these big long tongs, then you set them into cans with combustible material, aka newspaper, and we set them on fire. We took them out, blowed on them to get different glazes, and then we dumped them in cold water. Psh, more crackle, seals in the finish. Wait for it to cool, clean it off, ta-da! Unless, of course, you did horsehair, and then these people actually laid horsehair on their pieces, and it burns it into the finish and gives them the designs. Here are mine and Mom's pieces before I put them into the fire. She carved her bust with her broken arm, so I think that's pretty awesome. Everybody give Mom a round of applause. Yay! Woo! Yeah! And she glazed it with a crackle finish. I also used the crackle finish, except for on my dragon, in which I put some copper glaze on him. But I didn't do the copper firing. So he just oxidized and turned emerald green. Pretty bitchin', don't you think? Oh, he turned green instantly! Oh my god!
Oh, that is awesome.
That is so cool. Wow.
Ta-da!
That is gorgeous.
Isn't that awesome?
Oh my god.
Alright, so today I'm going to trim this little pot that we made in episode 1. The sad little spouted pot. It's actually a little drier than it should be for trimming, but I'm going to be chopping it in half anyway. That's right. Nobody should get too attached to these pots because most of them we're going to cut in half and examine the middle. So the first thing I'm going to do is measure the bottom of this thing. There it is. So I'm going to give myself a tiny little guide. Okay. Second thing I'm going to do is measure how deep it is. I've got about a finger's width. I can trim off the bottom of it. This will be the fun part, getting it leveled. So now to center this bad boy. I'm trying to get this bottom of this thing centered by holding this tool here close to the center, and then wherever it grabs it, I push that just a little bit out of the way. So I'm going to take this little sucker, to hold this pot in place so it doesn't go flying off here when I work on it. So, like I said, this is, ooh, ah! That's lame. It's really too dry to trim. Way too dry to be trimming this. Trying to get the sides nice and smooth. Get my little magic tool. It still does not look centered at all. It is not. That's where I'm going to want my foot. Now I need to go back and do some more edge trimming since I've re-centered this bad boy. And it's just too dry, people. Like I said, I would have just called it a day on the foot on this normally, but I'm going to be chopping. So I just had to restart the camera, which tells me that there will definitely be some speeding up of this trimming job. Y'all are going to see a lot of this in fast forward. Alright, well, I will say this. Even though it's too dry, and it took me forever to get this thing centered, pretty happy with how that foot. Find my little sponge. Give it a little bit of cleanup. Give it a little bit of burnishing. Okay. So, considering how dry it was when I started, I'm pretty pleased with how that came out. If I was going to keep this, I would go in and clean up the edges and stuff a little bit, but I'm not. I hope nobody got too attached to this sucker, because death to the pot. Alright, here we go. Well, right there is my problem with this pot. Right there. See that? That right there. That's my problem with this pot. The wall was so much thinner here than it was on this side. That's why it threw lopsided. Wasn't centered when I opened it. Then I either had too much pressure or the wheel was going too fast, but either way, that wall right there was way too thin at that spot compared to how thick it is on this side. That's what happened with this pot. So we live and we learn.